So good morning, everyone. My name is Mario Küttel. I am from Switzerland. I am a student here. And today I am here with Luntu Masiza from Cape Town in South Africa. Luntu is the CEO and founder of CYBTT, Changing Your Business Through Theatre. Luntu, what can you tell us about yourself?
Thank you so much, Mario. Thank you, and greetings to everyone who's watching. I'm really excited to be here. Just a little bit about myself. My name is Luntu Masiza, as Mario said. I'm currently based in Cape Town, South Africa. I've lived in the UK. That's where I spent most of my childhood. I'm an actor. I'm a writer. Directing, although I haven't done it in a while. I'm an entrepreneur. So that's me on a nutshell. I'm an outgoing person, and I love life and I live it to the fullest.
All right, that's great. So your company CYBTT, Change Your Business Through Theatre. What's the core values? What's the purpose of that?
Well, the purpose of CYBTT when I really started it was about building confidence in people, in a workspace, for their voice to be heard, and most importantly, for people to be able to connect with one another, have empathy for one another. Because I just saw, just to give you a little backstory on how the actual company started. Mm-hmm. As I said, I grew up in the UK, and I came back to South Africa for the first time after 10 years in 2014. And one of the biggest issues that I faced, was customer service was really awful. There was just a huge disconnection between me and the cashier or the teller. I just never understood what was happening. And then I kind of started to do some research to understand why is a customer service so bad. What would I do if I was in their position? I would make sure I connect, I engage with the client. How are you today, sir? Are you well? Thank you. I'll give them the best service ever. So by the time they come back, they're like, you know what? I definitely need to come back there. But with that being said, I realized that I got those soft skills or that confidence, the ability to connect with people from my acting training. So I was like, why don't I start a company which is going to help people to connect with one another, that is going to help people to have the confidence that they need, that's going to help people to voice themselves, and most importantly, to be authentic and be themselves in any situation and not run away and be shy away from themselves. So that's how the company started, and that's what the core values are. Empathy is to connect, sympathy is to understand each other as people, and to have confidence, most importantly.
All right. So I'm imagining this principle of your company. It's quite a unique. It's probably quite a new principle, isn't it? Or is it something that has been there before?
I know there are companies who do what's it called, industrial theater. And they will go into a company, they will act out a scenario, and then they will come and give feedback. The people who work there, they will say, okay, no, I think you can change this. Yes, I can see myself in that position. What I did with mine is that I didn't want to go through the industrial theater route to say, I wanted to build customer service. I wanted to improve customer service. Hence is why over the years, I've had to adapt the language and how I use, rather than when I pitch my company or when I tell people, I don't say, oh, we're just doing theater through in workplaces. I say, no, I do customer service training. I do soft skills development. I just use the tools from theater, which is, So, and then that makes it quite unique because people are like, oh, actually, I've never heard of it that way. Oh, actually, I can see how this can work, and talk about body language. We talk about tone and vocal and how all of these things work in workspaces. So that's what makes it very unique in that sense.
All right. So how is the reception in your, so you're a consulting company, right?
Yeah.
How is the reception among your customer companies been like? Is it Are they interested? Are they skeptical maybe at first, or is it are they enthusiastic? How has that been?
I must be honest, people are very skeptical at times. They're just like, because of the name theater, they're like, theater, how is that gonna work? Oh, what are they gonna make us wear spandex? I'm like, it's nothing like that. It's not so. But what I've done is over the time I've accumulated videography to put on a nice 30 seconds, 2 minutes video to show what I do. So when they look at that video, they're like, aha, it makes sense. And now they see it. But before, when I'm just talking, they can't really imagine it. They don't know what to expect. They're just thinking, oh gosh, we're going to play. And it's funny, even if we are playing through those workshops, it's the result that comes out after it, the response that people come out. You know, I mean, I've done like wardens in Portsmouth Prison, one of the notorious prisons in the world, and here in Cape Town. And when I did the wardens there, they were just like, what's this guy doing? And I'm like, okay, guys, we're gonna, wow, we're doing all of this. And they're like, okay. But as the workshop was progressing, they warmed up to it and they accepted it. And once there's acceptance in anything, you're able then to kind of make the most out of it because you're open-minded, you're accepting, and you're committed to it. And then that's how you make impact and results from that, you know.
So what do you think you have learned by building up this company that might change the outlook and behavior of future leaders in order to become a more responsible leader?
I think for me, I guess it's the human value and the understanding of one another as human beings. Because what excites me as an actor or as a group of actors when we come into a rehearsal, we break all of those, you know, barriers that you know, we think, oh my gosh, this person is this, and then this person's got more experience. Yes, we acknowledge and we know that. Yes, there's a director there, but the director, a beautiful director, an amazing director, is when they want to work in collaboration rather than I'm the boss, I'm the director, it's my ideas, it's my way, so therefore you can't really you're just there to take instructions from me and do whatever. And I think the world is starting to change in that sense, that even within workspaces, it's more of we're collaborating, rather collective, rather than, oh, I'm just taking orders from my boss, or I'm just here to do my part and then go. We want to want an environment that's inclusive, that we able to cover one another, that we able to come together and work for the same company with same idea, and to make sure this company builds and the brand, it grows and it excels in everything that it does. And that can only happen when we come together as a team and be united and say, you know what, guys, we understand one another. And another thing, a beautiful thing about these workshops, because it gives you an opportunity to know your colleagues better and their story and who they are. And once we understand and know who we are of one another, when I understand Mario, his background, where he's from, who he is, what makes him tick, what are the good qualities about him, then I'm always working towards his strength. Even if he can't do something, I'm like, you know what? I know Mario is not the greatest at that. And if he doesn't do it that great, I know at least he's tried his best. But here, I know this is his strength. Here, he will excel. And therefore, I know I can trust him with that. I don't need to check up on him, because people want to feel valued. That's what they want. That's what we want as human beings. We want to feel valued. We want to feel like I matter in this company. I'm not here just to make a number, you know? So those are the great things I'm really learning, and it's interesting. And you know, different places respond differently. But I think for me, the core of it, that you just see people connecting and understanding one another, having a better understanding of one another, and that's the most important for me.
All right. So I think if I remember correctly, when we're talking about a globalized world like we have today, in a way we are more connected to each other, but on a personal sphere, we might get away further from each other to a certain extent, because since, well, I mean, you and I, for example, 50 years ago wouldn't have been able to have this conversation because we live in completely different countries.
Absolutely.
And now due to lockdowns and COVID infections, for example, that's it's taking us further apart as people to a certain degree. Even though we are more connected, it feels sometimes like we are less close to each other.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you are trying to build a bridge from individual to individual. Am I seeing this correct?
Yeah, I'm really trying to bring that individual of kind of understanding, human to human connection, which makes us, because at the core of it, yes, we're from different backgrounds, yes, we've lived in different worlds, but what's most beautiful at the end of the day, that is we're human beings, and there is something special about us once we see each other from human to human, heart to heart. I'll tell you an interesting story, Mario. I am half Xhosa. Here, my mom is Xhosa, my father is Zulu. And when I was born, Xhosas and Zulus, it was a no-no. I mean, till today is tribalism within South Africa, whereas I get my family sometimes say, Luntu, don't get married to a Xhosa woman. That's my Zulu side of the family. And then I get my Xhosa family saying, Luntu, don't get married to a Zulu woman. So you have this thing. And then what makes it interesting on top of that for me is that I grew up in Britain. You know, I came to the UK when I was 10. That's when I went to the UK, and I stayed here for 13 years of my life. And then I came back to South Africa at 23. And you can imagine, you know, in the UK, I was exposed to all these different cultures. I'm a different person completely. And what's interesting is that when I was back in South Africa, I was never African enough. When I was in the UK, I was never British enough. I was always sort of questioned. And therefore, I was walking around seeking for this identity, seeking for this to be accepted by something, to fit in, to hold something for myself, to say, yeah, this is where I belong. Until I realized when I came back to South Africa, with the, facing the whole being half Xhosa and half Zulu, that I can never please anyone. I can't please my Zulu family side. I can't please my Xhosa family, because I'm this person who grew up in Britain, and I can't please the British. So however I accepted it myself, I said, I acknowledge that I am a black man. I acknowledge that I am an African man. I acknowledge that I am a Xhosa man. I acknowledge that I am a Zulu man. I acknowledge that I'm British. But most importantly, I acknowledge that I am a human being. And that's how I define it for myself. And there is nothing more beautiful than that, So tribalism, I'm all of these things. But most importantly, I am a human being.
In a way, you're the sum of your experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we are, if I'm looking at the time, we are racing quickly to the end of this interview. If we're going to the closing part now, and regarding the self-awareness competency out of the 5 competencies, if people would remember only one key message from your story, what would you like it to be?
I guess for me, my thing is that you've got to live life to the fullest and be authentic to yourself. Because when you're authentic to yourself, when you're true to yourself, you don't, not that you shouldn't care about what other people think of us, etc. Yes, we're gonna face those challenges where we're insecure about ourselves and saying, but for me, it's about having that authentic and living your truth every day. And I always say that I live my life to be a servant of humanity. That is to love, that is to be kind, that is to be compassion, that is to have empathy, that is to have sympathy, that is to serve others, to bring the best out of others. And I think for me, when you live your life like that, you're truly able to make an impact. Now, as an actor, that is applied in the stories that I tell as an actor, as a producer, that is applied to the stories that I tell. In my business, that is in the core of my business, about humanity and serving, and people coming together and helping them to build their confidence. So through everything that I do, my values you can kind of see in line with my goals and everything that I do. But in order to also get to the position, you have to be able to make a stand for yourself. What is it that I believe for? Who am I? What is it? What is my purpose in here on earth? What do I want to do? What is it just for me, or is it to make an impact on others? You have to have those conversations. And I think as an actor, that's the beautiful thing, because you take on all these different characters, isn't it? You 1 minute you're this person who's addicted to drugs, and then it's funny as you're researching and you try to understand why is this person addicted into drugs. You're like, oh, and then you find the humanity side of it, like, oh my gosh, they're not just bored because they're just addicted. They're trying to cover up something. You understand them on a deeper level, and therefore you're able to have that sympathy again, that empathy for them, and everything we do as human beings. And then you also realize, actually, I myself might be addicted to something, but I've never realized it. But through doing this research on this character, I've found something and we all deal with situations differently. And so therefore you don't live to judge others. And when you take on so many of these different roles, at some point you have to come back to self. It helps you to look back to yourself. Do I continue living this character after acting? How do I go back to Luntu? Now, if you don't know yourself as a person, if you don't know yourself as Luntu, then how will you ever go back? How would you differentiate between the character and you as a person? So those things for me is really important, to always have that self-awareness and going back and reflecting on yourself. Who am I? What do I stand for? What is my mission? What is my purpose here on earth? And you must constantly have those conversations with yourselves.
All right. Well, sadly, our time is up. I would love to be talking to you for hours and hours, because I feel like you're a very inspiring person, and I really like what you have to say. Thank you once again so much for your time and participation.
Thank you so much, Mario.